Sonica. When is a problem not a problem? When it's much worse than that. We've got fear in society. Now, how this fear was manufactured was not for the sake of the country, but for the politicians' personal gain. Let's be honest, this didn't happen by accident. It was engineered slowly and deliberately. Certain politicians realized something powerful, that fear wins votes faster than facts ever can. So they began crafting a story, not about individuals, not about neighbors, but about an imaginary threat. They started talking about migrants at first. It sounded like a debate about borders, policy, numbers. My neighbors could say, "You're all right. It's the illegal migrants we're all against." Slow conditioning and building of allegiances kept taking place. But then something subtle and sinister started happening. The word migrant quietly began to mean Muslims, even those who were born here, even those whose parents, grandparents helped rebuild the country after the war. Suddenly, it didn't matter if you arrived here yesterday or 100 years ago. You were lumped together, treated as if you were all newcomers, all suspects, all somehow not from here. And the public, many of them good, decent people, were fed this story on repeat again and again and again. The old, they're changing our culture. They don't share our values. They're taking over. Get out, you. It's classic manipulation, turns social hardship into social hatred. Distract people from the real problems, bad housing, low wages, failing public services, and give them someone visible to blame. And who's more visible than the Muslim woman in a hijab? Who's easy to point at than the darker skinned Muslim man with a beard? That's how it happens. The politics of fear slowly replaces the politics of truth. But we've seen this trick before. Every generation has had its scapegoats. The Irish in the 1800s, the Jews in the 1930s Europe, the Caribbean and South Asian communities in the 1970s. You know, I've lived through the very real Paki bashing era of the 70s and spent many an evening walking home from friends the long way round to avoid gangs stood on a corner waiting to pounce. The same pattern every time. First, they say they're different, then they're dangerous, and finally, they don't belong. Get rid of them. How? That's debatable. And every time, by the time society wakes up, the harm has already been done. Only till recently, I could tell my children and grandchildren how things have improved and race relations is not the problem it once was. I can no longer say things are better than the 70s anymore because they're not. You see, hatred doesn't just destroy the target, it eats away at the soul of society that spreads it. We all suffer. So the question is, what can Muslims do now? How can they appeal for change without scheming like demanding it? The answer lies not in shouting louder, but in living louder, by showing character over complaint, grace instead of grievance. When others expect confrontation, offer compassion. Because the most powerful resistance to propaganda is presence, visible, positive, consistent presence. When people see you contributing in schools, in hospitals, charities, businesses, the fear narrative starts to crumble. When they see your humanity, the headlines lose their hold. And Muslims don't need to reinvent who they are. Just remind people of who they've always been: hardworking, family oriented, community minded, people who've stood shoulder to shoulder with everyone else through recessions, pandemics, and everything in between. Political lies are loud, and truth is patience. It doesn't shout, it shows. If Muslims keep walking their talk calm, dignified, rooted in values of respect and service, then the illusion breaks. Because one day, those who've been misled will look back and realize the danger was never their Muslim neighbors. The danger was the politician who told them to be afraid of their neighbor. And when that happens, the wall of suspicion crumbles, and the old playground, the shared laughter, the community spirit, all of it starts to return. That's the Britain we remember, and that's the Britain we can rebuild together. Thanks for listening.